Awesome. Oh,
Thanks, Chris.
I was hoping to get the Britney Spears headset.
Yeah.
It's all right.
It's right here, actually, if you want it.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you, though. Cool. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're excited to go through what we have for you guys today. Before we get started,
What's that mean?
we might want to fix. Oh, it was upside down. Before we get started, I want to make sure we introduced ourselves so you guys know who we are, who you're talking to today. I am Vanessa Cazone. I'm a digital marketer here at Americaneagle.com. My background is mainly in both paid and organic social media as well as email marketing. But since working at AE for the last 2.5 years, I've also taken on SEO, paid search, content writing, so on and so forth, just the full breadth of the digital marketing mix. So again, super excited to go through what we have today, and it's great to see everybody's smiling faces in person.
Awesome. And I'm Tony Steen. I head up the digital marketing sales division here at AE. Been in digital marketing or omni-channel marketing for about 16 years, so I've definitely experienced a lot of change over the years and evolution of this space. And so, yeah, we're super excited to have everyone in-house today, and then those online, thanks for joining us. We're hoping to share some tricks and tips around how to kind of create the perfect omni-channel strategy for your businesses moving forward. So thanks.
Awesome. Before we get started, I want to premise kind of what we're going through today. This is our agenda, our 5 steps to the perfect omni-channel marketing strategy. Step number 1, providing a consistent experience. We'll just kind of go through the pinnacle of omni-channel, which is consistency, connectivity, integration. We'll start with that. Step number 2 is walking in your customer's shoes. We'll go a little bit deeper into personas. Number 3, finding unique, personalized ways to engage both with your current customers and your new customers as well. Number 4 is determining a fully integrated marketing technology stack, which Tony will take you through, and we'll end it off with measuring everything. All right, step 1, providing that consistent experience. So I wanted to kick it off by going through why omni-channel and really what omni-channel, what is omni-channel, why is it valuable, why is it important. So if you're not already aware, omni-channel really just refers to the act of promoting products, services, offerings across multiple platforms, multiple channels, and multiple devices. You may be thinking, okay, that sounds very familiar to multi-channel, if that's an approach you're familiar with. If so, you are right. They are very, very similar. Multi-channel is actually the basis of omni-channel. So there is no omni without multi-channel. The only difference there is that omni-channel really takes that integrated approach. So we're marketing on many different platforms, many different channels, but we're also really making sure that the customer experience is really thorough, really consistent, really integrated. Again, in terms of the value of omni-channel, I wanted to throw some metrics at you guys. Based on a current study, brands who implemented the strategy saw 90% higher customer retention rates. No matter what industry your brand is in, no matter what business model you use, customer retention rates are always a great metric to take a look at, so good to see here. 19% higher customer engagement rates, that was across all platforms and all channels. And then lastly, 240% more frequent purchases. Of course, for the majority of us in here, the main goal we want our users to reach is that transaction or that purchase. So the proof is in the pudding here. Like Tony said, we'll give you guys a couple of tips, tricks, tactics to take home with you. If you have any questions, feel free to stop us or, of course, wait for the Q&A at the end. Perfect. So whether or not you already have an omni-channel strategy built out, it's always great to start with mapping out the customer journey. What you see here is really just a basis or a template of what a customer journey looks like. We have starting at awareness all the way to advocacy. Again, this is something that you can take home with you and kind of build out, but this is really the template. A lot of the times we see customers solely focus on that purchase step, which is of course wonderful. That is, again, the ultimate goal is that purchase, transaction, form fill, whatever it is. But I did want to touch on some of the more important steps. Before getting to that, this graph is wonderful because it kind of breaks out the different tactics that you can use based on the stage that your customer is. So consideration is a really great one. For a lot of customers that have higher ticket price items, a lot of their customers tend to stay in that consideration phase for longer than usual, which makes sense. That's reasonable. A customer doesn't typically want to spend $1,500 online right away without even seeing the product in person, so it makes sense. So in this chart, you can see for the consideration phase, we maybe want to consider reviews, blogs, media, email as our marketing tactics for those specific customers. Email is wonderful. Make sure that abandoned cart journey is set up correctly. Hit them with those reviews. Of course, don't bombard them, but we do want them to be able to see that past customer credibility. Retention is also a really great one. Of course, our new customers are wonderful, but retaining those current and returning customers is super important as well. So hitting them with FAQs, great, also great for SEO. Having forums available for them to communicate with other customers to see how they're using the product or service is also a really great idea too. So again, this is just a template for you to take home and kind of work off of if you don't already have a strategy implemented. If you do have a strategy implemented, kind of check back in on your customer journey and see how built out it actually is. All right, where and how your users are interacting. This is incredibly important and definitely something that you can use hand in hand with the customer journey. Omni-channel, of course, refers to marketing in several different places at once, but that does not mean marketing in all places at once. You need to figure out where your audience is and how to reach them. For some customers of ours, Facebook makes a lot of sense. For others, LinkedIn makes a lot of sense. For others, email marketing is where it's at. It really just depends. This may seem pretty self-explanatory in terms of how you can figure that out, look at engagement rates across all channels, but you can also do a couple of different activities that we have on the right-hand side here. How can I do this? One, on-site contact forms, email signups, email pop-ups. This is an interesting way because you won't necessarily get historical data, but you can add a field that says, how did you hear about us? Very simple. Add that drop down that says TV ads, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it is. Make sure that they're able to select whatever it is that they heard about you from, and then go from there. You can even set up an email automation. This is where we get that send a survey idea from, based on your past purchasers in the next 2 weeks. Send a survey. Hey, how did you hear about us? How was your experience? Rate us from 1 to 5. If you leave a Google review or a Facebook review, here's your 10% off code. There's a lot of things you can do there. Another option is monitoring news, blogs, and even social listening. Social listening is great because you can figure out where people are talking about you and also how people are talking about you. In terms of how we get that positive, that negative, or that neutral sentiment, no matter how they're talking about you, if people are talking, you want to be there. So if there's tweets on tweets on tweets about your company, you want to make sure that you're on Twitter, whether it be responding to them, interacting. Of course, if it's controversial, be careful, but definitely something to think about. Also ask them. We'll get a little bit into personal outreach in the next step, but again, something to think about. All right, omni-channel in the real world. I wanted to give you guys some real life examples in terms of omni-channel strategies from brands that you know and love. Starbucks is the first one, their loyalty rewards program. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with that one. If not very familiar, I'm sure a lot of you used it this morning. Not only do they have the mobile app where you scan the QR code for the barista and you redeem your points, they also have that in-store purchase situation and an online experience situation as well. The online experience really comes from email marketing. I know I've received a ton of emails in the past from Starbucks that says, hey, enter this giveaway, enter this contest, play this game, specifically for those loyalty rewards program participants. And it's really great because you get that email, and then you see it in the mobile app, and then you see it in the in-store signage, so it's a completely cohesive experience. Walgreens is the next one, their rewards balance program. I actually found out that this program is being sunsetted as of January 1st, but it is still a really great reference. They have those in-store purchases, the same idea as Starbucks. The more you buy, the more points you earn. Online purchases in terms of delivery and pickup orders. And the really cool idea here is that the app actually integrates with the fitness app. So it tracks your steps, it tracks how many calories you burn, and it gives you points based on that. So it really gets you active, and it's a really cool integrated experience. You can also earn points from filling out surveys, different health information forms, things like that. So a lot of cool stuff there. Lastly, Timberland. Timberland shoes, Timberland boots, if you guys are familiar. They have a really cohesive online experience in terms of social and email, but they also have a really cool concept called Near Field Communication Technology, NFC technology. In store, there are several different touch screens that are set aside different best-selling products, and you can kind of go through and figure out the different information about the products, and it also gives you related products based on where you're at in the store. Very, very cool. All of the information that's on the NFC tech is also on the website, is also on social, and also in email. So again, completely connected. Awesome. Step 2, walking in your customer's shoes. We'll take a deeper look at persona development. By a show of hands, how many of you guys have personas developed for your brand? Okay, awesome. I was expecting a little bit more. That's good to know. All right, we'll quickly go through this. I know we have a couple more sessions related to persona development, but this is kind of a good baseline, even if you do have personas, to check back in on. So 3 steps to persona development. We have number 1, quantitative analysis, which includes a compilation of past customer data, current customer data. The more data, the better. We'll get into that. Step number 2 is qualitative analysis, which comes back to that personal outreach that I mentioned earlier. And then number 3 is actually creating and drafting those personas. All right, so quantitative analysis. Again, the more data, the better. The 2 specific information sources we want to look at is demographic and engagement information. For demographic information, you can get as general as first, last name, age, gender, and as specific as employment status, employment level, number of children. Again, the more data, the better. So as much data as you can get, include it. We're going to use this data to create those personas. Engagement information, again, this is omni-channel, so we want to make sure we're pulling data from all channels that we're incorporating in our strategy. So for UX, you could use metrics like device usage, time on page, scroll depth. For email marketing, you can do conversion rates, open rates, click-through rates, share rates, even unsubscribe rates. Social media, you can look at likes, comments, shares, even direct messages, and then a couple of other points here to consider: Net Promoter Score, content engagement, and online reviews. All right, so looking at the qualitative analysis section of this, again, this is the personal outreach. I want to preface this by saying that personal outreach does not always get the most incredible engagement rate, but it is very valuable. Directly reaching out to your consumers and getting that direct feedback is amazing. So this is a template that you can use. This can be an email automation that you develop from your CRM or just your general email marketing platform. It could be a series of emails. It could be one email, whatever you have the bandwidth to do. So this is just, again, a template. I have a couple of pointers here. Make sure you're personalizing the content. Include the customer's first name. If you have the data that backs up which product they used or what service they used, whatever it may be, include that in there. Just make it as customized as possible. Introduce yourself. Hope you're well. My name is Vanessa Cazone. I'm a digital marketer at Americaneagle.com. Make it so that they know this isn't a spam email or a sales email. You're really just trying to get some feedback to help future customers. Communicate the goal. My goal is to feed this information to the marketing team to better help customers like you in the future so that, again, they know this is just a feedback situation. They can participate if they'd like. They don't have to. Lastly, make accommodations. Again, direct feedback is so valuable. If we could get the customer on the phone for 30 minutes, wonderful. If not, that's okay too. Make that accommodation to, you can just reply back to this email if you are willing to give feedback. This is another way where you can add an incentive in there. We'll send you a 10% off code if you do provide feedback. This is just for data purposes. And then persona development, this is the actual creation of the personas themselves. These are actual real life examples that we've created for clients. You can see there's 3 different ones here. I know this is very small on the screen. We take a look at specific things based on both the qualitative and quantitative data. So we look at goals, challenges, motivators, informational sources. So are they getting their information from social? What news sources are they utilizing? Whatever it may be. Expectations and needs. What were their expectations going into it? How do they feel now? And again, all 3 of these personas are completely different. So the interest level for persona 1 could be completely different from the interest level in persona 3. It's just a great way to figure out what each person that could possibly come to your customer or come to your business needs.
All right. Any questions before we move on to steps 3, 4, and 5? All right, cool. We'll keep it rolling. So obviously personas are important. We talked a lot about it, right? Everyone has a different target audience group. Every target audience group has their own needs, their own interests, their own likes, and we need to adhere to them. Why? Because we actually live in a customer-first world. At the end of the day, we need to really create a more personalized experience for our target audience based on those likes and interests and needs. Because consumers are truly the lifeline to the business, right? If we don't have customers, we don't have a business. And if you're not connecting with your customers on a more personal basis, you're probably going to start falling behind your competition. And so how can we do that? What are some best practices for creating that personalized experience, that unique engaging factor to that consumer? So we thought it would be a good idea to just share some of the top kind of tips for creating that personalized engagement. There's obviously a lot of ways to connect with your customers, get your customers to connect with you, and then share on your behalf. But based on data, based on many, many years of experience and seeing the evolution of digital marketing and omni-channel, the top 5 that came to mind for Vanessa and I, and based on some research that we've done as well, first and foremost is creating personalized videos. Video content is becoming more and more popular. It's quick to understand. It gets the point across. You can leverage your customers in those videos. You can create your own personalized videos. And it's very, very easy to engage with an end user using video. It's funny, and in fact, I think I'm going to forego the example that I shared, which is a video that I have in this deck because of time. However, my wife and I were literally in the market for a new car the last 45 days or so. And anyone who has been in that car buying experience knows probably what I'm talking about. You reach out to one sort of third party, and then all of a sudden you get 50 different salespeople reaching out to you from every dealership within a 30-mile radius. I probably had a good 30 to 40 salesmen and women reach out to me for different vehicles. However, there was one gentleman who literally sent me a text message with a personalized video link explaining who he is, introducing himself to me, and asking me if there's anything that he can help me with. That was one individual, although he was located in Ohio, so it was a little far for me to go out and see him. I literally took the time to call him back, thank him for his personalized video, and let him know that if I was able to make it out to Ohio, that I would absolutely do business with him. So video goes a long way. It takes a little bit of time to create the right video, but we've seen a ton of success internally and externally with clients on leveraging personalized videos to create that level of engagement. The second way to engage is through social media, right? People are relying on social more than ever when it comes to credibility factors, when it comes to making that purchase decision. Social is also really easy to build a community and to create that interaction, right? Just a couple minutes and you'll be able to post something on social. Just a couple minutes and you'll be able to do what Vanessa said in terms of hearing what your customers are saying about you and interact with them. And people expect it today. So if I say something on social, if I comment on something on social, and I don't get that interaction back, I feel let down, right? It's kind of something that we expect in today's day and age. And so let's make that a priority within your roadmap, within kind of your everyday cadences. And once we create that community on social, whether it is on Facebook, whether it's creating thought leadership content for LinkedIn, it's great because at the same time, you are getting other people to continue to communicate with you and to spread the word for you, right? User-generated content. It's one of the most powerful resources that are out there, and it's easy because we're relying on our customers to share the greatness of our services or our products. Number 3 is segmented emails. Show of hands, who in this room sends a monthly email out to current customers and new prospects? Monthly, weekly, daily. Okay. Who takes it to the next level and actually sends 2 different emails, daily, weekly, or monthly, to your prospects and also your clients? Okay, so the number of hands have definitely gotten a little bit slimmer. And then who takes it one step further and actually separates the different types of customers and the different types of prospects that you're actually emailing, sending multiple times? Eric from KCS, that makes sense. Anyone else? Okay, yep, good. So the reason why I asked that question is because email segmentation is one of the only ways to break through email fatigue, right? Email fatigue is real. We all have hundreds of emails in our inbox right now. And the answer to email fatigue is not sending more emails. It's being more personalized and more calculated with your email outreach. So segment those lists because we know that when you do so, it increases the engagement number by 6x. However, I'm not surprised that the number of hands had shrunk down because 95% of businesses in today's day and age do not take that segmentation all the way through to that next level of being able to break down who your past customers are, who your current customers are, and who your future prospects are. And then breaking it down by the magic word personas and reaching out to those people with content that they care about. So segmented emails is definitely an important one. Listening to your community, listening to the prospect, and then building a community around that. So listen actively. Understand what your customers' needs are and what their wants are, and then communicate with them in the way that they want to be communicated with on the channels that they are on. And then last but not least, keep the loop turning, right? Keep your brand top of mind, not in a salesy way, in more so in non-intrusive, a thought leadership type of way. Don't think that every time you post something on social media, it has to be about your product or about your service. When I think about posting on social media, I think of 3 things. I'm either going to drive engagement, so I'm going to drive my user base to share or comment on that specific post, or I'm going to get them to take action, or I'm going to get them to buy. So you shouldn't just focus in on one of those 3 things. You should spread the love a little bit, and definitely utilize a tactic that's gonna do one of those 3 things.
We could do an entire forum presentation on just that. So definitely something to consider.
Awesome. And then last but not least, has anybody forgotten about how important FaceTime is? I know with COVID and technology, it's made our lives a lot different in terms of how we interact with one another, right? Virtual conferences. I can't tell you how many Zoom meetings I'm on a day. Yes, it's more productive in some ways. We can be way more efficient. However, 85% of people build stronger, more meaningful business relationships with in-person meetings. It just is the way that it is. Like, there's no other way about it, right? We got to get out in person, get out and see your customers, and really leverage that in-person communication and that FaceTime. All right. So, step 4. How do we determine a fully integrated marketing tech stack? MarTech, technology stack, buzzwords in the space. Everybody has either heard about this or is trying to figure out how they can create the perfect MarTech stack for their business. There's a lot of things that we cannot predict within our businesses as we grow, as we scale. But 3 things that we can predict is that we're going to be dealing with more people as we grow, we're going to be dealing with more processes, and we're going to have way more complex problems and a lot more data to be able to sift through. Right? So how do we get through it all? Well, defining the right tech stack is really the way. It's the answer. And the number one most important piece to your tech stack has to do with your content management system. right? If you have a website today that you are not able to make updates to, that you're not able to easily make enhancements to, edit, drag and drop banner ads, etc., then we should rethink where we're at. Because at the end of the day, if you have to rely on a programmer who specializes in certain sort of HTML or coding or what have you, you're a little bit behind the eight ball, because everything that you want to do is going to take more time than you want it to take. So get that CMS in place. Make sure that it's user friendly and very simple for you and your team in-house and or your partner to be able to make updates to. The second is Google Analytics. I can't tell you how, I know it might be surprising to a lot of people in this room, but I can't tell you how many times a week I talk to customers and or prospects who don't really understand how to measure data and analytics, don't have a tool in place to do so. Google Analytics is free, right? Google Analytics is the most reliable resource when it comes to collecting digital data around your products, your services, and your business, your website. There's other free tools that come with Google. Google Data Studio is another good one that we use when we're building out data, and I'll talk a little bit about how we think about data here in step number 5. And then marketing automation tools. Everybody familiar with marketing automation? It's the way to streamline processes and communication and everything else that goes on in your omni-channel world. HubSpot's a great example, Marketo. Marketing automation tools are really critical to scalability. If you don't have the right tools in place, talk to your team, evaluate what some of those goals are, and come talk to Vanessa and I, and we can help you guys evaluate what tools would make the most sense for you guys based on kind of where you're at in terms of goals. We talked a lot about email marketing. Just wanted to share some tools to consider here, right? There's some basic tools like Constant Contact, MailChimp. Obviously, those are on more of that basic level. A lot of limitations within those tools. But then you have HubSpot, you have Salesforce, Marketing Cloud, you have Pardot, things that will really allow you to take your email marketing game to that next level, including being able to easily segment that database into to specific lists, as well as creating those automated workflows and most importantly, tracking and measuring the success of your email marketing efforts. And then last but not least, a CRM. We have all these leads coming in the door, right? Marketing's doing a great job, or our sales team's doing a great job bringing leads in the front door. Let's manage those leads effectively throughout the different stages of the sales cycle, right? So where are we, in terms of top of funnel all the way through that buyer's journey, into the bottom of the funnel all the way through transaction, and what CRM tools do you have in place to make those interactions and make that pipeline management easy for you, and also the executive leadership team that truly does care about where these leads are going. And then last but not least, measuring success. So again, I mentioned Google Analytics. Google Data Studio is a tool that we use internally for a lot of our clients. The key to success when it comes to measuring data is to not get in your own way. Don't create, paralysis by analysis, right? There's a million different ways to slice data, but we often see a lot of times people can get themselves into a little bit of trouble because they're slicing that data so much that it's starting to contradict each other. So we kind of look at data in two different formats. We like to have an executive dashboard that really speaks to the executive stakeholders that care only about those high-level numbers. What are we spending and what are we making? What's working and what's not working? And then we get into more of a marketing summary. And so we actually build two different dashboards for the different stakeholders within a business. And that particular dashboard is going to really hone in on more of those key performance indicators. So we're going to look at lead attribution. We're going to look at weighted attribution, conversion metrics across different channels. We're really going to get into the nitty-gritty of the data and figure out, where we're performing well, where we're not, and how we're going to pivot. And so if you don't have a strong data measurement strategy in place and you're not using any sort of a data analytics tool, I would definitely make that a top priority in addition to that content management system that I had mentioned just a few minutes ago. So if you didn't take anything else away from this, here's 3 things that we're hoping that you do take away. Analyze your current audience to find a larger audience, right? Understand those different personas, figure out who those lookalike audience types are, and build out your target audience group, because the larger of a market we have to reach out to that is similar in sentiment, the better off we're going to be. We're going to have a bigger pool or a bigger ocean to go fishing in. Utilize tools that align with your goals, right? So don't just think about all the different tools that are available or softwares that software services that you guys have heard of within MarTech. Understand what those goals are that you're trying to accomplish. You talk to the internal stakeholders within your business. Give them homework to go out and analyze the different tools that they think could be beneficial to those goals, and then get aligned and choose wisely, because those tools can absolutely be a difference maker in how efficient we are in our communication and our execution. And then last but not least, measure the digestible data that resonates with all parties, so that you're not just looking at data that you care about, but making sure that you're putting metrics and KPIs in place that the executive stakeholders care about and that the financial team cares about. Again, we are more than happy to help any of you out in the room today and or online by providing any sort of a free marketing analysis, whether it's around data, whether it's around email, social, SEO, etc. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. A lot of you in this room have my information already, and we'll make sure that you get this deck so you guys have our emails.
Any questions in the room or online?
I knew it. Payback.
Hold on a second, Eric.
So earlier in your slides, you had the funnel, right? And at the very beginning is the awareness and all those things.
We're going to go to it. Hold
that
on.
are supposed to eventually drive to a sale. And one of the things that we're trying to do is spend more there, but we're trying to figure out, how do we monetize this, right? How do we know that by spending $100,000 on Google ads, we're actually going to lead to a purchase 3 steps down? The purchase part is easy, because we can say, oh, this much dollars generate this many sales. And we're really hungry to spend more earlier in the funnel because we believe it will help, but we just have to get to a point where we can monetize that away, find some type of evidence that it will actually lead to a purchase.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the survey or the polling, asking how people around the lead attribution piece? You talked about the surveys earlier, drop down.
Oh, yeah. That's definitely a way, but my initial answer is testing. And I know that's something that you're doing a lot, because I work directly with Scott, with social ads specifically, because that's awareness, social ads, Google ads. That's perfect. So testing is where my initial thought goes to, but definitely the survey is wonderful. Reaching out to those current customers and figuring out how they got there is essential. Did they come from a social ad? Okay, cool. We need to put more budget there. Did they come from Google ads? Okay, cool. We need to put more budget there. Of course, it's not just from one customer, but testing, and feedback from the customers.
But a lot of those result in a sale right away.
Yep.
What I'm trying to get to is
The ones who leave, click on an ad, they go away, and then they come back through another channel. How do we know if that ad actually was the first trigger that got them to find out about?
more than 30 days, so we're not doing any type of attribution modeling, but we still want to believe that exposure to our brand will eventually result in a sale, even though I can't
Directly correlate that.
Are there other measurements that you guys use besides sales?
Yeah, so we've seen, first of all, there is an opportunity to actually align on a brand awareness goal. So you're giving a weight to a specific goal that you guys have in place, and I'm sure you already know this, but that weight is going to determine the value out of, just use the 100 as a number. So if somebody clicks on our actual ad, and we don't know if they ended up going to purchase 3, 4, 5 days later because maybe they came in from another channel, what do we give that initial click from a weighted perspective out of a score of 100? And then what we do is we have to get comfortable, because this is what I mean by paralysis by analysis. We have to get comfortable with knowing that there is a sentimental value around brand awareness that we just know that if X number of people click on this ad because of the weight that we gave them, and then they come through another channel, that is going to lead to Y dollar amount. And so it is a gray area. It's something that we're constantly understanding through the buyer journey, especially with e-com, of trying to figure out, okay, if 10 people actually clicked on this ad, the 8 people that didn't purchase right now, what kind of score do we give them, and what value does that have on our overall brand?
And I think that's a Simon question too, if you guys have met Simon yet. So.
Yeah, we'll go find him after this. Good question. Any other questions?
Yep, hold on.
Thank you. It's just a quick one. I'm curious why you put forums in retention, because we're currently looking at strategies to leverage our forum in consideration to help incent purchase, because there's a lot of rich content in forums. So why retention?
Retention, because those are the people that already have the product or they already have consumed the service. So if you have the product and you're trying to retain that customer to come back, they communicate with other customers to figure out how they're using that product or how they're getting the most out of that service so that they continue to come back to you. Does that make sense?
It does, but would you put it also in consideration?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
What's interesting, though, is if we look around this room, I think 95% of people at today's forum are customers, right? But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that everyone in this room and online are incredibly happy with what we're doing for them, and definitely spread the word and kind of create that, again, that user-generated content.
For sure.
Great question.
Any other questions? Yep.
This table's hot.
Yeah. Hold on.
He's getting his steps in.
Just sit down over there, Chris.
So in collecting demographic data, I know that I personally am getting more and more protective of my personal information and unsubscribing from everything because of email fatigue. And so do you have any specific recommendations as to how to determine what things are most important that aren't going to scare our customers off? Because I feel like they're going to say to me, why do you need to know that? Why do you want that information? And I'm not going to give it to you because I don't know what you're going to do with it.
Sure. That's a great question. I think it's actually a very real scenario, right? That's why DuckDuckGo came out, right? No, do you want to take a
Yeah,
stab
I was
and
just
then
going to
go?
say, I
Okay.
think a lot of it comes down to transparency and creating that community and trust with your customers. Again, comes back to social, comes back to email. How can we create that community and get everybody involved and feel that trust with the company? But being transparent about what you're doing with the information is what customers want nowadays. So being as transparent as possible is really my direct answer to that.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that, we've all experienced when you go onto a website for the first time, especially if it's a retail sort of website or e-com site, you'll see that pop up to give you an incentive to put in your email address, and a lot of people take advantage of it to get that discount, and then they either unsubscribe, or if they have a great experience and they love the product or service that they purchase from, now they become more of a trusted customer, right? So we've actually experienced this a lot in our strategies, where we want to be extremely high level when we ask for someone to initially sign up for their account or sign up to become part of the email newsletter. But once we start to build that trusted relationship with them, then we can start to get a little bit more granular with the information that we're gathering from that end user to build them a profile. And what's the benefit of me giving you my information to build me a profile? Because now I am going to be served with content and with information that I care about, and that will impact my personal or professional life.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, certainly you can collect anything you want, right? But if you're going to ask somebody for their age, for example, what's the benefit in getting that information? Just because you can ask for it doesn't necessarily mean that it's actionable and that it makes any sense. But if, to your point, in my case, if I'm AARP type material, right, and I'm at the stage where I'm going to get a little break for some reason because of my age, then maybe it makes sense, right? But I think it's important for the companies to not collect stuff just to collect it, but make sure that it's actionable and actually spins back to a reward or a benefit to the customer in some sense. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, how many people have entered in their birth date into the Starbucks app to get their free drink? Definitely. And I look forward to it every year because I can get whatever I want. So Starbucks knows how old I am, but you have to give them that incentive, and you have to, again, build that kind of trust. And I don't care if somebody knows how old I am.
I have a question over here.
Yep, hold on.
Some of that attribution data that you're speaking to depends on what we know about the consumer, about the user. So, and that also then ties into cookies, right? What are you doing to prepare for a cookieless world, and how are you strategizing?
All you, Tony.
Yeah. Pass. No, I think at the end of the day, this whole world of, Facebook and Google and everyone else trying to be more, cognizant of the information that we're collecting, the cookies that, we're putting on people's browsers. It's obviously a real thing, but my take on this is there have been numerous road bumps like this over the last 15 years. There's been a million algorithm changes. There's been a million other things that Google or Facebook or the government, if you will, has kind of implemented in the digital landscape. And what happens? There's always a way around it. And so when we look at kind of what's going on in the digital landscape, and we hear, what's going on in the world of Facebook, Instagram, Google, and all the other forums that we're a part of, we are constantly being put at ease by those stakeholders because there's going to be a way around it. There's going to be a way to be able to still target the people that want to be targeted by your brand. And there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but, outside of just retargeting ads and pop-ups and things like that, I mean, yeah, sure, some of those are going to go away, but there's going to be a new format or a new way through mobile, through AI, through, geofencing, the whole 9 yards. So there's a lot of other ways to kind of find your way through that little, road bump.
Yeah, I think too, the entire breadth of digital marketing is about being able to adapt. So we have to be quick on our feet and we have to expect these things. But great question and definitely something to think about moving forward, for sure.
Alex?
Yeah, so a lot of the examples that you showed were very B2C focused. Mm-hmm. What would you do differently, or is there anything different that could be done from a B2B perspective?
Oh, there are multiple things. Reach out to me, and I will give you a couple of examples. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there are so many things you can do with omni-channel. You could see with Timberland. That NFC technology, you would not even think that that's part of their marketing strategy, but it absolutely is. So reach out now. I'll hit you with some personalized recommendations.
And just, to have a quick response here, Alex, is, strategies that we talk about and that we build for LinkedIn and that thought leadership piece is definitely a B2B type strategy, right? That's going to be a much different strategy than launching a social commerce experience on Instagram or on Facebook. But at the end of the day, when we're talking B2B, it's also very, very much around the content that we're presenting out there into the marketplace on those channels. And you got to see, for a content experience strategy firsthand, and it's really important to make sure that we are putting the right messaging in front of the right people at the right time. And then lastly, what I'll say is the world of B2B and B2C and D2C is all kind of becoming a little bit more cohesive, right? We may be in the B2B space, but as a consumer, we create this certain shopping behavior.
Thanks to Amazon, right?
Yes, exactly. and that's also why we expect things yesterday when we order something. So more and more we are actually seeing in our B2B world that we live in, and we have a ton of B2B customers, is we actually can practice a lot of the B2C sort of experiences and strategies within the B2B world, and we're seeing great results.
One thing that I've noticed on the B2B side is you have an opportunity maybe, and I think we talked about this before, to use the website or all this information you're collecting to make your workflows better, right? So we talked about before where if somebody buys a product from Wisconsin, right, you want to make sure that that sale is attributed to Jim Smith, right? If he's a sales rep for Wisconsin, you can do that on the back end, right, through a variety of roles and things of that sort. But that's where you can really sort of use it, beyond just collecting the information, but just to really put some solid business practices potentially in place too. So that's a little bit of a different thing for B2B, but we've seen that work as a pretty solid strategy. Any final questions? All right, Tony, Vanessa, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
everyone. Have a good one.